Lunch and Learn, where each and every week we explore topics to help you elevate your mindset, be at your best, and radically expand your life and business. Today, we're diving into a fantastic topic. It is overcommitment fatigue. Basically, why you keep saying yes, 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 and how to stop. So, if you're someone that has way too many tabs open mentally and emotionally and literally, maybe you keep saying yes when your soul is begging you to say no. It comes out of your mouth, but then deep down, you just have this cringe. Maybe it feels like you're letting yourself down while trying to please everyone else except for yourself. This session is especially for you. But first, let me know in the chat where you're coming in from. If you're tuning in by replay, type in replay in the chat. And if it's your very first time here, type in first time. I want to make sure that my team and I welcome you. And we so appreciate you and so appreciate your presence. Now, some of you know me, some of you don't. I'm Larissa McCooch, Canada's leading abundance mentor, and I work with high-achieving, growth-oriented women who are craving more alignment, more fulfillment, and flow in their life and business, and they are ready to create the life they want and love. Now, years ago, I used to say yes to everything and be involved in everything because at one point I started saying yes to things, even that scared me, and serendipitously, amazing opportunities started presenting themselves to me. They were beyond my wildest dreams. And over time, I started getting really afraid of missing out in life, missing out on opportunities, missing out on these joyful peak experiences. And I remember the first time it happened, it was just such a surprise to me, but then it became so addictive and so exciting to have these beautiful opportunities. It just became natural to me. So I started saying yes to everything, whether I liked it or not, whether I agreed with it or not, whether I even was thinking about it or not. I became a yes person for everything. I've also historically loved being an overachiever and getting everything done, getting really a lot of things done from a very early age. There's something so satisfying about making a big, huge list and crossing things off. I don't cross things off. I use highlighters. I'm a highlighter. And I was addicted to these dopamine hits, and it became a way of being. People would say, Larissa, you get so much more done in a day than most people do in a week. And I knew they were right because I did. However, every time they'd say that, it made me feel really successful. When I look back at it, it wasn't ultimately satisfying. And it certainly wasn't sustainable, especially when I had my son and I started a new business. Circumstances and my life had absolutely changed. And I realized that I couldn't say yes to everything anymore. I didn't even at that point want to say yes. I didn't need any more peak experience to try to satisfy this craving of having adventures in life. I'd experienced so much by that point. However, there were some really big things that I knew were important that because I said yes to so many other things that were great, I also hadn't achieved. And I knew that if I didn't actually go for them, I would regret it later. And so I started saying no. Okay. It wasn't until I started deliberately looking at my life and rebuilding it using tools, resources, and very looking at the world through a whole new lens that everything changed. And that's what we're really going to talk about today is building a life that's aligned with your future vision. And yes, you can have opportunities and room for beautiful serendipitous moments, but not just letting everything come to chance. So let's talk about what overcommitment fatigue is. And this is something so prevalent in high achieving women. So it's basically this chronic mental, emotional, or physical exhaustion caused by saying yes to too many obligations, often out of guilt, often out of habit, or even people pleasing. So maybe you're just in the habit of saying yes. Maybe you feel guilty if you're not all things to everyone because they've just turned to expect all of these things from you. And you just keep saying yes, yes, yes. But then at the end of the day, you are left depleted mentally, emotionally, physically, and you just don't know which end is up. Boundaries. This is another thing that's really important in this world. Boundaries are intentional guidelines that we create in order to protect our energy, our time, and well-being. If you think of a red carpet, they're like the stanchions that keep people on the red carpet and keep other people off the red carpet. They're those velvet ropes, right? Those posts with the velvet ropes. And so when you have boundaries in your life, they give you the time, the space, the ability to do what you want, to create what you want, and be able to refuel yourself, literally. And white space is another beautiful term that we're going to look at today. And this is things like time on your calendar where nothing is booked other than resting time, free time, me time, space for thinking, space for breathing, space for integrating, space for creating, space for resting. And the more of this white space you create, the better. Okay. Now, there's some research done by Dr. Roy Bowminster. He's a psychologist and willpower researcher, and he shows that decision fatigue and overcommitment, they lower productivity and increase stress. Okay, so when you make way too many decisions and when you overcommit at an astronomical level, your productivity actually gets reduced and stress increases, which seems logical. But sometimes we get caught in the trap and we don't even see it. So every yes decision or every yes that you make is a decision, right? It's a yes decision and you're saying yes, yes, yes. But what happens is your brain, it has a limited amount of energy to actually make effective decisions every day. Your brain is not this unlimited decision-making machine. Being effective at decision-making is great, but it only has so much bandwidth. And neuroscience, it confirms that when you're constantly overwhelmed, when your prefrontal cortex, the part that's responsible for decision-making, for planning, and the creative part of your brain, it gets hijacked by stress. And so you want to be really careful about doing too much in the wrong direction. And I'm not saying this so you avoid decisions completely. You absolutely need to make them. So don't go to the extreme and be like, oh, I have to spend my life resting. I can't make any decisions. Oh my goodness. Like, what am I going to do? No, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Okay. You got to stick to it. Just be really intentional. And this, you don't want to get to the point where you're so stressed and so at your wit's end where you can't dream big or think clearly because you're just drowning in your commitments. So here are 4 truths I want you to know about commitment and overcommitment. So commitment is good. Overcommitment is not going to serve you. And I'm going to look at what's really going on below the surface. So first, you're not just busy, you're addicted to being needed. Okay. And if this is resonating with you, if this is sitting in your heart, if this just like puts a little tinge in your stomach, if you're getting emotionally charged, okay, good. This is a good sign because it's a sign that perhaps you're addicted to being needed. And it's easy to just say, oh, I'm just so busy. I'm just so busy. But you want to have some kind of value in other people's eyes. Saying yes, it makes us feel important. But it's often this false sense of worth, and it's rooted in people pleasing, but not true purpose. So when you pull back the curtain and you really look at it, what kind of charge, excuse me. Oh my goodness. What kind of charge does this statement have? Next one, guilt is the gatekeeper of your peace. Okay. Guilt is absolutely huge. Guilt is a negative emotion that serves nobody. And if you say no to letting someone or something down, if you say no, you're probably going to perceive that you're letting someone or something down. Right. And the real truth is if you say yes to everything, you're letting yourself down. And if you're not showing up as your actual best, you're probably going to let them down in the end. The fact is, most people will get over things when you say no. They might be shocked in the beginning if they're close to you and they know you and they expect that from you. But 5 minutes later, they're going to move on with their lives and they're not going to remember it. You don't need to feel guilty. Guilt is one of those emotions that if you genuinely do something wrong, you should feel guilty. But you're probably not genuinely doing something wrong to hurt someone or harm someone or sabotage a situation. So let it go. You can say no. People can be upset. My son the other week, he got really upset he's been on his iPad a little more than he should be this summer. And so he's been getting really irritable turning the iPad off. And so he was grumpy, he was aggressive, and we said, "Okay, this is not good behavior. If you're not going to turn it off right now, you're going to lose it tomorrow, and you're losing it tomorrow." So he lost it for one day, but he kept going and going and going and going, and later, by the end of the evening, he lost the iPad to the end of the week. And so I could have felt guilty when he was saying, "Mama, I hate you. You're the meanest person out there. You're the worst mama in the world." And then he comes for a cuddle. "Mama, you're awful." Like, he said some mean things. He's 7 years old. He was very emotional. So I could have felt guilty and gone, "Oh my goodness, he's going to be emotionally scarred." And they have to work through their emotions. And he doesn't always have the most elegant way of saying things and expressing himself. However, I let him work through it. And miraculously, yesterday was his first day without the iPad. He asked for it once and then not anymore. And he had a great day. And this morning and last night, he was so kind. He was so polite. He was very thankful. He's been acknowledging things that we're doing for him that he doesn't normally acknowledge. He's like, "Mom, thanks for making me breakfast. It was really tasty." And he knows how to say thank you, and he does, but he doesn't say thank you for so many of these little things that he's now able to notice because the iPad hasn't been present in his world. And so had I felt guilty about letting him down, I wouldn't have this gift of actually having my son be so much more present. And so let go of the guilt. It's okay to say no. No is a good word. It creates peace for yourself and everyone else. Overcommitment is often fear in disguise. Okay, so overcommitment is fear in disguise. So often you fear you're missing out, you fear you're disappointing others, you fear you're being selfish or unhelpful. Just like what I said is, when I was going through I had all these amazing peak experiences, and I thought if I said no to something, I might miss out. This weekend, my husband sent me an information about an online summit or an online event that was happening. And it wasn't something I was particularly interested in, but he handed me his phone and I started listening to one of the sessions on Saturday. And I was like, "You know what? This is actually really good. This is really helpful." I went to my computer. I'm like, "You know what? Didn't want to attend, but thank you." The next day, there was part 2 of the same particular speaker. I didn't want to go to the whole series, but I was curious about the speaker. And at first, he's like, he didn't want me to miss out. So he was like, "Larissa, okay, I'm going to send you the link. Here it is. It's going on right now. Don't miss it." And I listened to about 15 to 30 seconds. And I said, "You know what? Thank you for sharing. However, I'm going to just take what I got yesterday and really work with it. I don't want it. I didn't have that fear of missing out. I had to literally pull back the curtain, because at first I was like, he really set part 2 up really well on day 1. Part 2 is the creative thing. I think I could be useful." But in the end, it really wasn't going to serve me. And so for me to actually be able to say no and let go of that fear of missing out was great. And I felt good about it. I felt really aligned, and it didn't add more to my plate. I have exactly what I need to get the most out of that session. That serendipitously showed up. I chose the first one. I was able to say no to the second one with so much more ease. Last but not least, your calendar doesn't lie. Okay. Your calendar doesn't lie. Your priorities are reflected in your bank account and your calendar. So if you're looking at your calendar and also how you're spending your money, this is going to reflect your priorities. So the real question is what's in your calendar, is what's in your plan, the things you intend to do and the things you actually do, aligned with your life and business, and not just with your life and business now, but the one you say you want in the future. And often your calendar and bank account are aligned with where you're at now, but they're not necessarily set up for your future goals, your future dreams, and these things that you say you desire. And this takes a little bit of work. This is what we do in our abundance focus system. We have a process that we go through to create quarterly goals that align with our bigger goals. We look at creating a plan that's really intentional and gets us to move with more authenticity. But we do a really deep dive quarterly planning session so we could look at the next 90 days in advance. We set these intentions. We have monthly planning sessions so we could calibrate and recalibrate and say, how are we doing? Are we actually moving forward on these things we claimed we said we wanted? We have weekly sessions where we look at the week ahead and make sure everything that we intend to do that week is going to move the needle forward. And when we do that, as we do that, life gets good. Why? Because priorities keep us moving forward. And the fact is, sometimes we fall off the wagon. However, we keep moving forward and we get back on. So your calendar doesn't lie, but the more you keep working with it, you might notice we just had a new client and she went through one of our planning sessions so far. She went through one of our quarterly planning sessions and one of our monthly planning sessions. And I got a message from her that she's like, none of my plan worked out. Nothing is working. Oh my goodness, everything is falling off the wet. It happens. I guarantee you every single person that we've encountered has fallen off the wagon at some point. But the thing is, that's called a learning lesson. You've got to learn from it, and then you've got to use that information to move on. So when it comes to overcommitment, it's not just that you're busy, you're addicted to being needed. Let go of the guilt. It's not going to make anyone's life better, including yours. Overcommitment is really about fear. One aspect of it is about fear. So let go of that FOMO and really keep a strong pulse on your calendar because it doesn't lie. You want to make sure it's aligned with your life and business and the one you want. And so overcommitment isn't just a scheduling problem. Okay. So part of it's the calendar, but what's in the calendar, what's actually happening goes beyond that. The calendar is just the reflection of the result. And so it's a deeper problem. It's a self-worth problem. It's a boundary problem. It's a focus problem. If you don't feel like you're worthy, if you don't have good boundaries in place that align with yourself and your priorities, and you don't have the right tools, environment, and system to keep you focused, you're going to feel like you're spinning, and you're just overcommitted and can't see the forest through the trees. You're not weak or lazy. You're just running outdated old patterns. And so you need clarity, you need structure and courage to get out of that cycle. So what do you do about it? Okay, what are some really concrete things you can do about it? First, hit the pause button. Okay, we have that Staples easy button. I have it on my desk. I had it on my desk somewhere. I think my son moved it. Yeah, can't find it right now. But I had the Staples easy button. That was easy. But it's almost like every time I see it, I also think like, okay, it's kind of like a pause button. I hit the pause button and ask, does it align with my priorities and capacity? Does this task, does this commitment, does this request align with my priorities and the capacity I have? If not, you just don't do it or don't consider it. And sometimes you might be like, well, I do want to experience it, but I just don't have it in me right now. You can do it later. You don't have to do everything. And these no's that you're saying right now don't have to be a forever thing. It could be for the time being. You can always come back to it 3 months later, 6 months later, a few years later. I've had things that I've wanted to do, but haven't really been aligned to do. But I'm like, yeah, one day I'm going to do that. And then when the timing is right, it's an easy yes. Okay. So you really need to think, does it align with what my priorities are right now and the capacity, the ability to do it at this point? Okay. If not, no, thank you. Next, create a white space rule. You actually need to block time in your life for you. You need to, I had one friend who he literally blocked time for sleep. He's like, if I don't put sleep in my calendar, I'll forget to do it. He was that diligent. He's like, I just block time for sleep because if I don't do it, oops, all of a sudden I get distracted with 10 other things. Block time to go for a walk, block time to rest, block time to do nothing, to maybe just be in your zone and do something that fills and fuels you up, not keep you running on the hamster wheel. Okay. So Start with these personal priorities. And then when you're blocking other space, even creating white space in business is huge. A lot of really successful entrepreneurs have something blocked in their calendars that's called thinking time. A lot of really successful people have done that over the years. And when you block that thinking time, that quiet time, that hour or two every week, where you just sit there and think about decisions you have to make. You're not acting on them. You're not sending messages. You're not creating SOPs. You're just thinking about and evaluating decisions. Like, that's a great thing to do. So creating that white space is huge. Next, stick to the basics and repeat them. Okay, the basics are the basics are the basics. The basics can get boring, but they work. And so when you keep doing the basics really well, you will make progress. And when you really start to gain mastery over the basic things in life, you have the ability to start moving forward, because you won't have to use as much of your brain or as much of your energy to get through those things. They'll become really automatic. You can get really proficient at them. Yesterday, I was on a webinar with my son, or a masterclass with my son, and it was about Facebook groups and copywriting. And this woman, Sierra, she's brilliant. I love her. She's got great energy, but she's really good at coming up with really good questions. I can ask great questions to clients under certain scenarios, but she's really good at asking just really amazing questions online in a marketing setting. And I asked her, I'm like, how do you do it? She's like, I've been doing it for 6 years and I am like, I love it. She's like, I don't use AI, but I practice it. She's like, this is a basic I do every day. And I want to do it. I keep doing it and I train myself to do it. And so now things just come out of her mouth and it's so natural for her. But she keeps things simple. She sticks to the basics. And when you look at the basics of your life and business, then everything can start changing. Fourth, use leverage where you can. What tools, what people, what resources can you use to make things in your life better so you can do less work? Do you need to hire someone in your personal life to cook, clean, or do laundry? Do you want maybe your kids to cook a meal or two each week? Do you want to, if you're in business and you're looking to create more freedom, perhaps identify all the things that you shouldn't be doing, and once a week, once every 2 weeks, once a month, find something to start delegating to someone else so you can empower them, train them, and leverage them to help you get more things done in a more powerful way. Okay, so get things off your plate. You can automate things with automation tools. You can delegate, you can outsource, you can delete. Last but not least, practice saying no. And if you want to say no gracefully, you could do it gracefully. You could say no. That's a complete sentence. You could say no, thank you, and be polite. You can be even more polite and say, I appreciate the ask, but I'm just not going to commit right now. It's not something I'm ready to commit to. It's not something I'm willing to commit to. Not ready. And it's not something I'm willing to commit to right now. And so do it more, do it more, do it more. So pause before you commit. Ask if it aligns with your life. Create more white space in your personal life and in your business. Stick to the basics and repeat them. Do less, but do it more effectively. Use leverage where you can and practice the art of saying no. Start doing these things and you will start feeling less overwhelmed. Take less of the things on in your life. Let go of anything that does not serve you, and your life and business will never look the same again. So you can't really know what's a no if you haven't defined your yes. So make sure you take a look at your life. You take a look at your priorities. What did you do last week that energized you? What drained you? Where are you on autopilot? And choose commitments to start letting go of. Okay, choose commitments to start letting go of things that don't energize you, things that drain you. And when you start being really diligent with your time and with your intentionality, we are, like I said, in our focus system, we have a quarterly plan, we have a monthly check-in, but we also do a weekly in-depth plan. We have a system in our abundance focus system where every Friday morning we get together and we look back, we reflect on our week, we look at what went well, what we need to cut back on, what we need to do more deliberately, and plan the week ahead so we can live intentionally rather than in reaction mode. So remember, you don't have to do it all. And in fact, you shouldn't do it all. The less you do, the better. However, you do have to do more of what matters most. And you're allowed to do it with grace, with intention, with space, and with breath. So do more of what matters, let go of what doesn't serve you, and keep moving forward each and every day. Now, if this message hit home, I'd love for you to join us inside the Abundance Focus System, where we teach and work with women like you to stay accountable, focused, and inspired through structure that actually works, without the guilt, without the hustle, just aligned action. And we're going to help you clarify what matters, create systems that work, and stay accountable without overwhelm. So if this is of interest to you, send me a message, send my team or I a direct message that says focus, or even write focus in the chat, and we will get more details to you, because remember, your peace is not negotiable. You deserve to protect it. So I will see you again very soon next week for another meaningful and powerful Lunch and Learn episode. Bye for now.